You're watching EVH Gear TV, brought to you by Mike's Music. Visit Mike's Music online for all your EVH and other gear needs. Microphones for EVH Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com. Now, here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH Gear artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, it's the weekend. Happy Friday to you all. EVH Gear TV. We are live, joined by my good friend Jake Morelli. Jake, we had a little bit of a technical hiccup there for a little bit, but you know what? Screw it. It's Friday evening. We're going to have some fun. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Great to finally see you, bro.
I know. We've talked for so long. We've been working on some projects equipment-wise together, and we're going to get into that later on tonight, but I'm really happy to have you. This is fantastic. Can't think of a better way to spend a Friday. What's that?
Yeah, I hear you. Me either. And I appreciate you having me. It's an honor to be on the show.
My pleasure. I'm just going to jump over real quick and say hi to the people that are waiting in the chat. They've been they thought maybe we weren't going live there for a little bit. But got a bunch of people joining in. My very own Bane Rocks. That's my little guy. You've seen him, some of his guitar stuff. Let me see here. Nemtal's joining us. Joseph Burt. My Poison Ivy's joining us. Darren Moore, my good friend from Michigan. Let me see here. Carlo Santin, another fellow Canadian, saying happy Friday all. Scott MacArthur says, hey everyone, thank God it's Friday. Just got home from a long week on the road, and he was up in Regina, Saskatchewan for 2 days this week on business, not close to you, but in Canada. Very, very cool. Lyle Ketchum is joining us saying, hello all, hope you're well, hope you're doing well. Ivy, has the show started? Yes, we are live now. Lyle Ketchum, okay, YouTube wants to make me wait. It does, it can do that. Let me see here. Clinton Emery, he was just on here in Seattle last weekend. It was great. And let me see here. Who else did I miss? They're talking about some fish. That's my boy. Got some new fish today. And Carl Santin, no problem. Hopefully it gets started soon. Yep, we're good. We just had a bit of a hiccup with internet connections for a little bit. Towards the bottom here, Mystic Star, Will Dunham's joining us. Cameron Brown's joining, saying hello from Scotland. Happy Friday. Victoria Emery. Hi, Jake. That must be one of your friends.
All right.
Yeah.
Who's it? Victoria?
Victoria cool. Emery, yeah.
Victoria? Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
What's happening? All right.
Billy Shelton says hello, Eric, and hello, Jake. Michael Bishop, hello, Eric, and all. Mystic Star says hi, Ivy. Joseph Burt, Raymond Ubrina, and that is it for the chat. So I'm going to highlight that where we left off there, and I can come back to that after. So let's get right into some of these questions. I like to, for some of my viewers who don't know your music and where you've come from, tell us a little bit about your musical background, not only yourself, a little bit about yourself, and tell us about your wife's career too that you were a big part of.
Sure. Well, my name is Jake Morelli. From New York. Born and raised there, lived there for about 20 years and came down to Philadelphia and have been here more or less ever since. I lived in Portland, Oregon for a couple of years, went out west there, spent a tiny bit of time living in Florida. My mom actually lived down in Florida, so I was down there for a hot second. But mostly it's been New York and Philly with some secret love of the West Coast.
Nice.
That I need to get out there every now and again. In fact, we just came back yesterday from there. But otherwise, yeah, I'm from a very musical family. My dad is currently a drummer who's playing many times a week in New York, and he runs a boutique music booking agency. So anyone, there's like tons and tons of people contacting him like every day, and his thing is like, as opposed to like having set bands, he's got a Rolodex of some of the most talented musicians, if not the most, in New York, and he'll just, depending on what the party or the engagement needs, whatever it may be, he'll like handpick the perfect musicians to create a mood and the perfect ensemble for that situation. And my grandfather did basically the same exact thing. He played professionally drums, that is, until he was about 85, 88, somewhere in his upper 80s, and ran this business. His was Jack Merrill. He kind of like shaved the end of our last name off just because times were so, I guess, they were so much more even heated. Things are pretty heated these days too, but he figured without like the obvious like Italian connotation, it might just sort of be a little bit more middle of the road. And he did really well on,
People really are willing to judge right away, so you take some of the stigma away from it, and less is more, right?
Yeah. So, but he also was in the army, my grandfather. So there was this sort of like very regimented, and I don't know if I would say militant, but very regimented approach to how we approached music, and in terms of like listening and appreciating the greats that came before us, and then certainly how we approached practicing and that type of thing.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Now you're heavily involved with your wife's career as well too, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my wife, Dante, she's also been, doing the music thing forever, and so has her family, going back again a couple of generations. And her dad was the late great Lee Andrews from Lee Andrews and the Hearts, Long Lonely Nights. And very big in the doo-wop world, and then eventually formed another band with her mother called Congress Alley, and she toured with them for many, many years. And I think between that and also just like the record collection that was always around her, and there was just a heavy-duty, diverse music upbringing for both of us that was very eclectic. So we grew up just loving all kinds of different music, and have really brought that into our own personal music these days. And I'm helping her out in a number of ways these days. But she's definitely a firecracker and a go-getter herself.
That's awesome.
So it's a great blessing to be a team with her and really put our heads and our efforts together each day.
Yeah, spending time together and working together, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I never thought it was really possible, but every day is a blessing with her. We just have a lot of fun within the work, and when we put it aside, of course. But yeah, it's great fun. Way to enjoy it with someone you love.
Now, does it work really well, too, when you guys are bouncing ideas back and forth? So you come up with a song idea, whatever, and you throw it to her. Is she brutally honest? Will she give, she'll say, no, it doesn't work, or that's awesome, or vice versa, too?
Yeah, our process is funny. The ideas that she feels like collaborating on top of mine are when I'm just organically creating, and she'll hear it from a couple of rooms away and says, I've written a whole song to that already.
Nice.
And I'm like, but it's not quite finished yet. And she says, no, I got the whole everything. So she's really quick like that. And that's interestingly how our process works a lot, is if it's coming from my production first, it's because she heard it either from another room, like I said, or maybe I've played it for her after a day's work and she's like, wow, I need to write on this. Or vice versa, she may come up with lyrics and I'll have to, build something around that. So yeah, we've been doing a bunch of that.
That's good.
It's been great.
Well, I love it. It's good that you guys can do that and share that. And it's really cool you talk about these both eclectic influences that you've had, and we're going to get into this later on too in the program. We talk about your record collection, but I mean, I can only imagine that's been a huge benefit to you both, having absorbed music from every genre, from rhythm and blues to soul to rock, and probably everything in between. And I've seen some of your guitar playing. A lot of people might say, okay, well, Jake is this style or Jake is this style. I've heard you play so many different styles. I've heard you actually just downright shred. I'm like, holy cow, I didn't expect that because a lot of stuff you're known for, right? Some of these bands and the artists that you've worked with, you don't get the chance to shred. Obviously, the song doesn't call for that. But then when you do, it's like, holy cow, that's pretty awesome. I remember commenting on one of your Instagram videos. You were doing some F-sharp jam thing. Remember that? I talked to you about that. I'm like, what the hell was that? Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I'm really, I've been around this music thing since I was a little kid, so it's so ingrained in me that I really just try to be a vessel for what the music needs. And guitar ends up most of the time being my instrument of choice, but of course I consider myself a guitar player, there's no question, but I don't really look at music from a guitar, standpoint or frame of mind. It's sort of like, in each moment, if I'm involved in it, it's like, what does this moment of music need? It may need a little bit of this and that, but it's not like, okay, we're in A and I know an A minor pentatonic, so I'm just going to throw it in there. Just because it could work technically, I really try to stay sensitive to what music is calling for. So like you said, I'm not going to be shredding over a song that doesn't call for it. But that's funny, because when I came down to Philly, I got for better, I wouldn't say for worse, for better, I got thrown into this scene that was very eclectic in its own right, but it kind of phased a little bit more towards the R&B and hip hop type of genre than, say, like the rock and like the heavy stuff. For the most part, there is a band that I play in for about 20 years now called Anwa, and it's like a reggae / punk rock project. So that allowed me to tap into my rock roots, since I've been down from New York. But yeah, like I love R&B and all, the smoother type of groovier stuff all day. But I was definitely raised on a lot of rock as well. Nice. So it's funny, like somebody, I've been a Koch amp endorser for a while, and I'm butchering the name of the company. I apologize, but one of those guys commented on, I guess, a video I put up not too long ago, and I was, doing something towards that shredding department, and they're like, "Are you going rock, Jake?" And it was just so funny, because I've been rock since I was born.
Yeah, that's right. They don't get to see this often,
amongst other things. Yeah, so
that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, actually, they make some good amplifiers as well too. No doubt about that. What are you using? Obviously, they make combos and heads. What are you using at the moment from them?
Yeah, it's a Jupiter 112 combo. And I was playing through it last night just with nothing, just me, a guitar, cable, and amp, and it's just breathtaking. When you have that kind of combo and you technically don't need anything else, like that's a really good situation. Yeah, it's killer. Like they're doing some magic over there. It's I guess the Jupiter is a hybrid amp where it's tube and solid state.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been my go-to for a while because it's got some reverb in it, 2 channels. It's got like a N more switch, and it's got an effects loop. So it's sort of like, and you can chain more speakers to it.
Nice.
So they've been awesome. And I actually have a 112 extension from them, which is across the studio here. So yeah, they're doing some great things.
Of many things that I didn't get a chance to do at NAMM this past January, you were doing each day, Thursday through Sunday, you were at the Koch booth demoing NAMMs, right?
Yeah, I was playing their stuff, absolutely, and I was mesmerized by some of their They had a prototype there that I just was floored over. Yeah, and frankly, since they're overseas and I'm not in their warehouse every other day, it was really fun to be able to hear their other models, because I've only heard their Jupiter, which I love.
Yeah,
but that's kind of a cool thing about NAMM is like if you're connected to a company because you have A and B, but they really got the rest of the alphabet. Yeah, it's like that's a good place to check it out.
Oh, for sure, hands-on for sure, where you don't get to see it, and you get to see it for the most part before the general public does, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a treat for sure. Although I was at NAMM recently, and I guess the last day was open to the public. I guess they're doing more of it now.
The summer NAMM, you just in Nashville there a few weeks ago?
In Nashville,
yeah,
yes, sir. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I bet you had fun there for sure. Yeah, you'd fit right at home there for sure.
I think I like it a little better because it's like you can hear yourself think a little bit more from moment to moment. It's not as crazy as the LA NAMM. Of course, LA is great with everybody walking around and stuff, but I think I just enjoy the vibe and the temperature of Nashville a little bit more.
I think it could be a little bit more easy to take. Like I know myself, I only saw a 1/100th of what was there in LA, and I was burnt out. I mean, it was my first NAMM too, so I mean, obviously I was a brand new newbie there. But
really?
Yeah, it was my first NAMM. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, first one. But Nashville would be good for you. I mean, with all the cats that you surround yourself with too, I bet you probably saw a lot of your peers there as well too, and got to mix with those guys.
I did, and NAMM was sort of like an understatement for why I even went there in the first place. I poked my head into NAMM for about one day, and I was out there doing some shows actually with a couple of artists down there. There's country artist Morgan Miles, and we share an endorsement with Go-Go Tuners. So Go-Go actually put on this awesome show at Acme Radio.
Nice.
And I was playing with Morgan and her band, who are incredible. And there were other amazing players like Johnny Highland on the bill. Yeah, monstrous. So that was a lot of fun. And then the next night I played at this place called Soul Shine, and I played with the guy. His name is slipping my mind all of a sudden, but he's been playing guitar for Kid Rock like since the mid '90s.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I forget his name too, to be honest with you, but that guy is good.
It'll come back to me. He's a mother. Yeah, it was real fun to play with him and the band and the singer. It was like unbelievable. Like it was like you were on stage with a Robert Plant meets lead singer from AC/DC type of thing. Like he was really belting it like that. It was, which I love. I'm really, I love being, influenced by what's going around me.
Oh yeah, surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with really, really good people, and all I can do is make you a better person and a musician as well too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that was ingrained in me.
Yeah,
since a little.
I've always found that too. I mean, it's always nice to jam with the guys in the garage. We've all been there, but it's nice to have your butt kicked a little bit once in a while. Whether it be maybe it's a keyboard player is just smoking, and you're struggling to keep up with them or him or her for that matter. And then next thing you know, you sharpened your chops a little bit here, and then you go jam with the next guy is really good, guy or girl, and it's always sharpening that pencil, so to speak.
You get your butt kicked from another angle.
Yeah. It's
like
staying on your toes.
After hopefully enough butt whoopings, you're finally able to like hold your own within a session.
That's right. Yeah, then you learn to crawl, then you walk, and then you can run.
Yeah, for sure. So Philly's been great for that because New York was certainly an amazing training ground for me, but coming down to Philly has just been monstrous. Good. In a lot of different directions and dealing with a lot of top-notch players. It's almost infinite the amount of talent that's here. It's almost it's kind of scary.
I can imagine.
But but it's it's a lot of fun. Out of that, it's like just trying to wean down to the people that you vibe with, and I've got a nice selection of people that either we can use for shows when need be, or that I'll call in for sessions. So yeah, Philly's a rich city.
I love it. Well, some of the last few guests I've had on the show have been talking about how early they started their instrument, and 99.9% of the people that come on the show to date have been guitar players, and also they play other instruments as well too. But I'm hearing kids starting at 6 and 8 years old. Thomas McLaughlin, that was on a while back, or McLaughlin as some people know him, started when he was like 4. How old were you when you got into guitar, and really obviously there's the history in your family before, but how old were you, and what was that jump getting into the guitar?
Yeah, I was right around 3 or 4, and guitar wasn't actually my first instrument. Drums were, and with my dad and grandfather being drummers, they sat me on the drums like as little as I could barely hold sticks, and they taught me rudiments in like baby language. I think it was like mama, dada were like my rudiments.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Into, like some single strokes or doubles and all that kind of stuff, but. So, and which was really cool, I think because of that, I always feel music from a rhythmical standpoint to some extent first, which I think is really important, just to be aware of timing. But I think it must have been around 4 or so when I picked up the guitar, excuse me. And why I did so was my dad was playing with the guys from Ram Jam. Okay. I don't know if you remember the guys who did
Black Betty?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Right.
Yeah, so my godfather was the late, great Howie Blauvelt. He was the bass player of Ram Jam.
Sweet.
And the guitar player was Jimmy Santoro. Now, Jimmy would play this gold top Les Paul through a Marshall. I forget if it was a half stack or a stack. Even if it was a half stack, it probably felt like a stack to me at that age.
Yeah, he full blast your little kid. Yep.
Yeah, and he played through an Echoplex, like the real Echoplex that Jimmy Page used to play through and all that. So, and I used to be in the rehearsals, and I would like crawl into my dad's bass drum, and they'd be like, "Where's Jake?" And I'd be missing for a little bit, and then I'd be like just hanging in because he didn't use a front bass drum head. But I was so impressed and influenced by this guitar playing because he seriously had so much fluidity around the guitar, and just he was a storyteller. Mm-hmm. He was a great player as well, but he really was an incredible storyteller on that guitar. So I think that just like it was like the Memorex commercial with like with the air just coming at you a million miles an hour. So that hit me pretty hard. And then he gave me like a couple of lessons, and I actually got in trouble in the lessons because I wouldn't practice for some reason.
Okay.
And the next week when I would come back, I have this funny memory of it, like me just trying to figure out the stuff by ear in the moment, and he could tell what I was doing. And he gave me a couple more lessons, and then I was sort of on my own from there. And I've, for the most part, just been playing by ear, and just trying to be a sponge, whether it been like those old REH videos, books, listening to records and wearing out the rewind button. Obviously you're so tied into Eddie and the Van Halen crew. It's like that was a big phase for me, like learning Van Halen records note for note. And it wasn't my first phase of guitar playing, of course. I probably went through a few rounds of whatever it may have been, the blues or what have you. But so that was an amazing phase, because that once I got there, I was like, wow, this guy is taking like virtuosity, but with like a real sensibility of tone, and that really spoke to me in a way that like others hadn't in the past. Just because they were flying around. But.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the questions I had. It's perfect that you segued into that. When was it that like everyone kind of comes into Van Halen at a different angle? They they might come. Some of us that were younger, discovered Van Halen as it came out. Other people come in at '84. Where did you come into Van Halen, and really, what was that first? Was it the Eruption type of a deal, or what did you hear first, and how did it affect you?
Interestingly, I don't know if '84 was the first one that I had, but it was definitely one of the first records I remember. Okay. So we had this very extensive LP collection as well in my household growing up, and '84, I remember that just blowing me away, But yeah, of course, Eruption, and I think Hot for Teacher is the one that really sort of like got me good.
Yeah, hit you really fast.
I learned, I was playing that with a band in high school. What would we call it? Like Delayed Reaction or something like that back then. And we, Eddie, he really just, and continues to, completely blows me away. Because there's not, I mean, there are more these days, but he, like I said, just like was so beautiful with his phrasing and the combination of that and his tone, certainly his technique. But so that was a biggie. And then from there, I mean, I may have gone backwards, and I think One was probably one of my favorite records. But I don't think I think all of them are great.
Yeah.
I think I probably lean towards the David days a little bit more, as far as like my heart of like what Van Halen was all about. But then again, Sammy took it to amazing levels too.
Yeah, I agree.
As did was it Gary Sharon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Did a good job too. Respectable. Just wasn't really Van Halen, but it did a respectable job in my opinion.
Sure. I don't recall much of that era per se, but yeah, between Eddie and I'm sorry, not Eddie, but David
and Sam.
Sam. Yeah, I think that's like the heart of it. Although certainly David Lee was like, for me, I think that's like when I think Van Halen, I'm picturing him up front.
Yeah, I agree. And now I don't know this, we don't have to confirm this. I think I'm a little older than you. So I go back a little, obviously the Dave era as well too. And everyone has this argument. And one thing I really like about Van Halen fans, for the most part, they can love all the eras of the music. They have their favorite, like you and I are saying we like David Lee Roth as the best. And David Lee Roth certainly isn't the best singer of the bunch. But he is the ringleader. He's the guy. Like you say, you talk a time capsule, you put something in a time capsule. I don't really think you're going to put much of a Sammy Hagar catalog in a time capsule. Maybe, but it's definitely going to be something like your Fair Warning or your 84 or something, or something like that. Because Dave was that guy, and I really 100% in my heart feel that he is a huge part of their sound today, their swing, their shuffle with, and here's some of the music that, like you listen to. You've got the roots that you have with your music. Dave was listening to a lot of this stuff as well too, and bringing it to the band. And the band's like, no way, man, we don't want to do this stuff. We're not going to get bell bottoms. We're not going to do this. And look where it got them, right?
Yeah. I know they went in a few directions that probably Alex and Eddie were like shaking their heads.
I know. Well, look at the outfits they had to wear, right?
And even with some of the covers, I remember reading at times Eddie saying like he wasn't really dying to do like Pretty Woman, for instance.
Yep.
I don't think he was dying to do that.
No.
But, you know, I think it some of those choices got them some nice commercial success that, you know,
yeah, that's
was
right.
a nice other tier of success.
Get some airplay on some stations that just maybe normally would shy away from Van Halen at the time. All of a sudden now you're grabbing an audience from little suburbs over here, which adds up very quickly. More fans, more radio DJs taking a chance on some of the music. It's a little heavier, a little deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I always really dug the family connection too, like knowing that Eddie and Alex were family, and now even these days, I think it's so incredible that, you know, Eddie's got a son, is it Wolfgang, right?
That's right, that's correct.
Playing bass like a mother, and he's another like talented multi-instrumentalist.
He sure is.
I believe, right?
He's phenomenal on drums. I mean, obviously, look at he's got Alex and Eddie to teach him. Eddie's great on drums. But yeah, multi-instrumentalist, and I think really, I've shared a post on Facebook the other day about Wolfgang. It was just a throwback that he did, so I just shared it, whatever. But I think we as Van Halen fans, as of late, should be really very, very, very thankful to Wolfgang, because, you know, Wolfgang was one of the guys who gave his dad a kick in the butt and said, "Let's go, let's get out there and do something. Let's do something for the fans." Picked a lot of that catalog, if not all that catalog, you know.
Right. Yeah, that sounded like a really fun task. Like, pick the dream set lists and let's go rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And not to mention the set list, but even recording a lot of the demos in the studio, you know, because there's a lot of good demos. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the old ones, but there's a lot of good ones. And, you know, there's probably a lot, there could have been a lot more good ones as well, too. But I think he had a big say in, okay, Dad, we should do this one, we should do this one, we should do this one. Some of them, you know, made it to the record almost verbatim. Other ones were changed completely, but they could still feel from the old demos. And that has a lot to do with Wolfgang Van Halen.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I got to check some of that out. You're referring to some of the newer stuff?
Yeah, like the latest release, the latest official release with Dave Lee Roth, Different Kind of Truth. It's their last one. It's got kind of the old Commodores or whatever throwback with Train on the cover, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to check that out.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna scroll down to the chat in a second, but there's a question that just popped up, and I'm gonna kind of go back to the chat. But one of the questions is, was your work with Bruno Mars, and that's actually someone I really enjoy too. Let's try to find out where this. Let's skip down. Let's go through the chat real quickly here, and we'll get to that question. So Raymond Ubrina says, "Hello all. Mystic Star says, been a long time." And Raymond says he's new to the show, so thank you, Raymond, for coming to the show. I appreciate you checking it out. Victoria Emery says, "Hey." Mystic Star says, "Hi, Eric, EVH rocks." Bane rocks, "Hey, Jake, Mystic Star." Let's see, Lau Ketchum is here from Michigan as well, for joining me from where my friend Darren's from. Tactical 6-string. Blackie DH says, "Hello, all." Let me see here. Rick Kreifeld, our friend Rick, is in the chat.
All right. Hey, Rick.
We love
How are
Rick.
you, buddy? Yes, big time.
Awesome, Rick. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I was just chatting with Rick earlier.
Good. Today you were talking to him today? That's good.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you can see behind me.
Yep, let's go to your full screen here one sec.
Got Rick's incredible pedal board here with some offerings on it. But I don't know if you want to jump into that.
Let's do it right now. We'll come back to your question on Bruno Mars. You can answer that in a moment. But let's talk about the idea bench. So let's set it up. I'll set this up and we'll get right into it. So that's how Jake and I become to know one another. We're working with 3 really good teams. We're working with PedalSnake, and I assume it worked the same way for you too. Working with PedalSnake first, and then the other people come on board. But you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Working with Jody Page at PedalSnake, Rick and Joanna at IdeaBench, makers of the fastback pedal board that you see behind both of us, and obviously Strymon as well. And that's so we're like, Eric's here, and there's Jake Morelli here, and there's so who's this Jake guy? Let's look him up. That's how we become friends. So I'm going to stop there. Right. Tell us where we went from there.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, there's a lot of pedal board companies out there, I would assume, or at least a handful. But Rick over at IdeaBench is really taking a very different approach. And I'm not a huge car guy, but I'm thinking this may have to do with a correlation to a muscle car.
I think so 100%. I feel it.
Called the fastback, right? So essentially, what you're seeing here is the board that's opened, and there's a hinge in the back that allows it to be up like this. When I close the hinge, it'll very nicely close down, and then I'm ready to go. But what's nice about this, as you can imagine, is you can get behind the scenes and, you know, tidy up all your cables, make your connections with your power, which in this case for us is Strymon, and then the other end of it is the PedalSnake, which is, before I got involved with PedalSnake, like I mentioned with the Koch running things with an effects loop, I was running all my time-based stuff and modulation through the loop. But what would that do but give me like 4 audio cables coming to me, another power cable, which is a 5th, and then I'd have like a power strip. Like, it would be a mess to some extent. You know, obviously I would make it as tidy as I could. But PedalSnake came around. You've known about them for a lot longer than I have.
About 2000, yeah, 2000 for me.
Yeah, it's so amazing. But they've really come across and saved the day in that I now have one cable that, you know, goes from my amp to the board, and it covers all of that. It covers audio audio out. It covers effects loop. If I had my foot switch on here, it would change not only 1 but 2 different foot switches. It allows for a stereo setup. It's pretty amazing. And there's 7 channels on this snake, the one that I have. I think you can get a 4-channel as well. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. You know, like I said earlier, I love just plugging into the amp sometimes and just playing music.
Of course.
But, you know, there are times, depending on the shows and the artist and the set list, you need to sort of be able to, you know, grab some different sounds pretty quickly. So the good old pedals help with that.
Now, do you have yours mounted with the, like Rick gave us the option of Velcro or the dual lock? Did you go with dual lock?
I didn't.
No,
I went with the Velcro.
Okay.
Yeah, the dual lock I've used before, and it almost was like too much grip.
Okay.
To the point of if I ever wanted to take it off, I
break the pedal
at
off
least
almost.
The dual lock that I had, it was like I had to get like some tools out of the shed to, like, you know, pry them up.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I like it in my case because I've used Velcro before. My last board was Velcro, so I can see both arguments to that. For me, I'm not taking it out of the home anymore. It's strictly here for the studio, here for the show and things like that. So it's pretty much on there, and I'm getting to the point where I can make up my mind. Okay, and I mean this is very hypocritical because we always say no more pedals, right? Until someone says, hey, try this pedal, and then you're like, all right, and then you want it. But I do like the dual lock. I like it. Now, here's a problem where I did run into before. Like you say, it is so adhesive that I did want to move a pedal one time. So I took the pedal off, no problem. But the dual lock itself, the adhesive is really, really strong. So you're peeling rubber back and peeling it back. And eventually you'll get it off. But I love it. And I know this was funny. You guys all got a kick out of this. I added the LED lights to mine one day. I had this creative little idea. And then, of course, Rick and them liked it, and Jody liked it. And then we're like, okay, now we got to get it through the snake, and we got to do this other kind of stuff. So we're trying to find, voltage things and it all to work. But in the grand scheme of things, having the neat board, which I know you can attest to. I know you had it neat before with 4 cables coming and going and power supplies. But it's just one less thing to worry about. And with PedalSnake, for me, long
and it's
before...
a time thing, too.
It is, especially in a situation where you're an opening band. Yeah.
Well, just that. Yeah, if I'm sandwiched on a show between 2 other acts and I have to get off the stage quick, whether I have a roadie working with me or not, it's that much quicker to wrap up one cable than it is, 4 or 5 or 6.
That's right.
So, yeah, and I did the LEDs thing, too. I linked up with a company called Drumlight.
Yes.
And their thing is actually lighting up drums, some of the clear drums, or it doesn't have to be clear. But I had to make me a separate, like a custom... I guess it was like 3 feet of the LEDs and just wrapped it around there. And it's not hooked up. It's in there, but not on at the moment. But it's amazing because it's not like it's just one color. It's like, it kind of phases in and out. So it becomes quite a spectacle on stage.
That's right. You probably can't see mine very well behind me right now. I have it just on. I have the LEDs on right now on a fade. What I particularly like is you have.
See it. Yeah, absolutely.
You've got the blue board. I've got the red one, and I think what looked really cool with mine is if I leave it on red, it almost looks like a barbecue grill. It's almost like there's something grilling underneath there. It looks really awesome. Like it's almost like your pedals are gonna melt.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
That's great, man. I'll have to check it out in person one of these days.
Yeah, well, that'll be fun. What I have to do, though, like I told you off the air, I got to cut down the LEDs. I put in about 12 feet of LEDs, and I mean, it's almost like, like a turnstile at an amusement park. We go through all those, little, I guess you call them turnstiles when you're getting the line up on the ride. That's what I'm doing with the LEDs.
Yeah,
it's just too much.
Was perfect. 3 feet was perfect for me, and I'd love to link you up with drum lights because their stuff is really top notch.
Yeah.
My thing is, because I remember Jody was saying that I should have gotten more than 3 feet, but mine lights up sort of just enough. I didn't want it to be too circusy, where it's just like
yeah.
So
you don't want to tan when you're in front of it when you're on the stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep it like a little bit of extra splashes.
That's
colors.
right.
Cool.
I remember the day that the board come in. I was trying to do because I promised everybody in the loop that I was going to do a video that day, for that thing, and I didn't know how to mount the PedalSnake to it yet. Because it's a special. Jody and Rick were working on that together, getting this mount. And I think I was the first guy to mount it, and I wasn't sure, so I'm calling Rick, and I said, Rick, we were Skyping that day. I said, okay, do I do it like this? And I'm pointing out the thing. He goes, yeah, that looks good. Do it there. And non-officially, I tried this, and I don't encourage it, but I wanted to try it just to see if I could do it. I picked up my board with all the pedals on that thing, and you can see it back there. I've got about 12 pedals. I picked up the board by the snake.
By the snake?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jody's been saying he wanted to do a video of that, of like swinging it around.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, I said, I don't want to be around when that video is getting shot. But,
no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't swing it around my head. I could lift it up, but I was like, how many pounds are we talking?
It's probably a few.
I know.
Yeah. That it's a great testament because this stuff is made like a complete rock. And you've had yours. I mean, you're the perfect endorsement. It's like going on 10 years or more, right?
With PedalSnake for sure, yeah. Probably about 2000, 2001. So yeah, he's very close to that, yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could tell mine's going to be around for the long haul. And when I was talking to Rick earlier, it's like this is, I think, the same board that you have in terms of size. But he's talking about getting me a smaller one also.
Yeah.
Because although sometimes I need, all these different sounds, there are other times where I don't, but I might need a few. And, having a smaller version of this will be fun to just do some more local stuff and things like that.
Yeah, small to like not necessarily a fly rig, but like a fly rig, just nice and small, travel from the back seat as opposed to taking up the whole trunk.
Yeah, sure. Or a fly rig. Although I feel like I have to interject. It sort of has nothing to. Well, it doesn't have anything to do with these companies specifically. But in terms of a fly rig, I just got off the road yesterday, and I simplified my setup so much so because this situation right here.
Oh, I've seen this.
Have you? Okay, yeah, the red truck.
Yeah.
By Moore. And to be honest, I've never used anything from the company before other than like I had a power supply from them a couple of years ago that I still use from time to time, although obviously the PedalSnake stuff has taken over for the most part. But this thing is pretty incredible. It has like a boost up front before you hit like a drive, distortion, different modulations, delays, reverb, and a tuner. And it even has like an effects loop in here, and it's stereo. And it sounds really good.
Nice.
And it's kind of tiny. So this and like a wah, and I'm sort of
set to go.
Done. Yeah, if it's something where I really, for whatever reason, can't bring a lot of stuff, the guys at Moore, Scotty, hooked me up really nicely with that thing. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, sometimes simple is nice. I mean, less to go wrong, and you've got one board, like you said, that plus a wah pedal, and you're good to go. So that's not bad at all. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I don't know why I've been a sucker for using wah pedals for a long time. Specifically, these, I don't know if you could see them, Morelli. This is like, it's called the Skeleton Wah. It's one of their newer ones. I think it may be a glow-in-the-dark situation as well. But it's that optical, it's like the Bad Horsies situation.
Yes.
I've been using the Bad Horsies for years now. And there's something, for me, very magical about not having to, do the click on, click off type of thing. And just, you want a little wah, and now you're back to your sound. Yeah. So
since you're on the board, why don't you give us, like, guys on the show here love rig rundown. So just give us a little bit of your signal flow there.
Okay, sure. Let's see here. My signal flow, to be very honest, is a little bit of a work in progress. Like I said, I just got back off the road, so I'm sort of back in like a little bit of trial and error. And what I mean by that is I'll I can unhook it for a second. But I got this, it's called the Trans E Form.
Okay.
So being a big recording guy, we have a mutual friend, API, myself, and next thing I know, I had this pedal available to me, and it's basically a compression pedal and an EQ as well. So I'm going to be playing around with it. My gut was telling me to put it right up front, but it actually didn't fit all that well on the board. So after a little research, I found you could put compression at the end. So I'm going to try it in both spots. But so at the moment, that's sort of like what's going last. But in terms of what's first, I'm going right into the wah at the moment, the skeleton wah, and then into the EP booster here.
Yep, got that one too.
Cool. So I had been just running straight into the EP and then into here. So again, this is going to be a little bit of
trial and error
job forward. But let's see. From here, I'm going into a J Rocket Animal.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's really monstrous.
I know a lot of J Rocket pedals, but I don't know that one. So that's probably they specialize in overdrives a lot. Is that an overdrive?
It's sort of, I think it's been called, like, as a few others have, the quintessential Marshall in a box type of thing.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's got this snarl feature. If you click it up, it really opens up beautifully. And I was talking to them at NAMM. They don't actually make this pedal anymore. It's a fatter, like a little bit bigger than their pedals now. So I think they're like bringing it down to like a tour size.
Gotcha.
At that point. So from here, I'm going into the Zen Drive, which is a pedal that I've just been hearing about forever. And I was like, okay. And then I actually got the opportunity to check it out within this last year, and it actually really did blow me away.
Nice.
Yeah, it really is ultra responsive and a lot of fun.
I'm seeing one there that caught my eye right away is that Pitchfork. I want to try that Pitchfork.
Yeah, the Pitchfork is definitely like a little secret weapon. I definitely dig the whammy pedal to an extent. I haven't really been like a big whammy player over the years, but the Pitchfork is really cool because you can dial in any harmony note that you could imagine, right? And then you can say, how much of the blend of that signal, the affected signal, you want to bring in. And then there's like this dual switch where you can just treat the upper octave, like if you're on a fifth, it would just be a fifth up.
Yeah.
Or a fifth lower, or if you're in the middle, it'll give you both.
I like that.
So it starts to get, I haven't really played Pogs, but I think it gets kind of Pog-oriented.
Yeah, Pog category. Yeah,
where you start like getting the organy type situations. But it's just beautiful. It's very inspiring in that, like, you start playing an interesting chord with some of like these like a perfect fourth on top of it, and you're getting sounds that you wouldn't otherwise. So it kind of inspires new melodies and musical ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I sometimes step on the octave pedals, and like I don't have that one. I have a Boss OC3, but it inspires riffing with it. It's cool.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I have this. You don't need it. You don't need to hook it up to an expression pedal. You can just like step on the pedal, and it'll go up to that interval, and then you release your foot, and it'll go back. But I have it hooked up so I can actually get those whammy effects to, it's a Morley, it's an M2. It's like a smaller expression pedal, and it works great. Let's see. I am then running into the Horizon tuner by GoGo.
Okay.
It's an amazing tuner. Like, you could be on an outdoor festival on the brightest day of the year, and you will see that tuner.
That's
Trust
nice.
me. Yeah, it's really cool. It's just really bright. I think it's actually the largest LED on a tuner on the market. So, and tuning is like a really, really big thing for me. Hopefully not to a fault, but I'll find myself tuning a bunch just because I always want to make sure I'm in tune. I think my ears are just like, really, I don't know if I've been told I have perfect pitch over the years or what, but I just can't stand an out-of-tune guitar.
I know, even just a one string, it just drives you absolutely crazy.
Right. Yeah, the G or B or something. So from here, I'm going into this solid gold effects. It's a Formula 76.
Okay.
It has two different sides to it. I just use one side, and it's a killer octave fuzz. It's like a sweet little, if I want to get into Jimmy territory, I'm stepping on that. Between that and some wah, I'm in heaven.
Love it.
So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, and then from there, I'm jumping back here to this. It's called Sib Effects makes this, and it's a Mr. Echo, and it's a very interesting analog delay, in that it has this slam feature.
Okay.
And when you hit it, it amalgamates a tape machine that stops.
Okay.
But it can get very intense, and depending on how much of it you have in there, I'll have to send you some audio demos at some point, because it's a lot of fun. So from here, I'm going into the Eventide H9, which you may be familiar with.
Yes, I am. Now, how do you use it in your case? You run it stereo for detuning or things like that, or?
I run it stereo, not so much for detuning, but depending on what the scenario is musically, it's just amazing for creating spatial type things. The Eventide effects, the quality of them are, superior to almost anything I've ever heard. So that's always inspiring to play through. And then I'm going into the Nemesis Delay by Source Audio.
Yes.
Who are also changing the game these days. And the Nemesis, it just has this whole wheel of different types of delays that you can get into. You can subdivide them however you want. There's an app that goes along with it, a Neuro app. I actually don't get that far into it because there's already so much you could do with just the pedal itself.
Yeah, just with
and then from there, yeah, exactly. You could set a couple of, I think it's 4 presets as well on here, which is cool. And then I'm also using these option knobs, which allows me to, with my feet, if I wanted to tweak the time or how much feedback, I can actually do it with my feet without bending down.
Well, that's handy.
And pull on the radio head. And then I'm going into the transformer, the compression and EQ, which again may end up first on the board.
Yeah, experimenting.
That's about it.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's actually it. Yeah, man, thanks.
And the good thing about this too, where a lot of people don't know if fully understand this, you're running this and now using the PedalSnake. You've got your sends and returns, you've got your instrument input out to your amplifier, you've got channel switching, you've got voltage all in one cable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really depends how I want to set it up. The way I just described is sort of everything in line. Otherwise, what I would do would just be to sort of run this front end into the front end of the amp, and then basically everything up here delay-wise would go into the effects loop, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, some nice versatility. Thanks to Jody Pace.
Exactly. And before Jody had brought us into working with the fine folks at Strymon as well, too, working with just Rick and Joanna at IdeaBench and PedalSnake, too, I was trying to say to Jody, and this is where we collaborated on this, I was getting a little bit of noise to the rig, and as you know, Jody is all about getting rid of noise without using pedals to do that. Like, physically eliminate it, not, put a Band-Aid on it, right? So I'm running a lot of pedals. Some are going to the loop, some are going to the front. And I said to Jody, I said, and we're using Snake Power at that time, his power adapter he had, which is great. I said, what about doing a power supply that runs everything through the loop, and then one that runs everything through the front of the amp? He said, sure, let's do that. And we did that, and that fixed everything. And then we've evolved from there, now running Strymon's power supply through the Snake, and that's working great too, because that is an isolated, regulated unit as well too, the Ojai. So that works great.
Yeah, it's surprisingly quiet.
It is.
Common sense, in a sense, you're looking down, you're seeing a lot of things in front of you, and you're just like, wait, where's the noise?
Is this turned on?
But they've really, I'm like, wait, you have to, but it is, and it's really beautiful because I'm, if I'm not on the road, I'm in the studio essentially.
And that's where you got to be really quiet.
And I really do. And, and even on the road with some of these TV type gigs, it's like that or the studio is like the last thing I want to hear is like humming and, whether, various cycles of hums. has not been my favorite sound over the years.
I know.
So I'm really thankful to to Jody and I think it's Mark over at Strymon.
That's right.
And certainly Rick and Joanne, just for helping to create this whole thing. Because when you do need to go after a few sounds, you're not going to sound like a noisy mess.
That's right.
Or at least hopefully.
That's right. We'll give those guys a little prop too. We'll go to PedalSnake.com for PedalSnake's products, IdeaBench.com for the Fastback products and all their glory they have there. And I believe it's Strymon.net. I'm not 100% sure on that, but look up Strymon products, and I'm sure it's what it is. And then you'll see their power supplies and obviously all their great pedals. I've got a Big Sky reverb coming from them next week too, so I'm looking forward to trying that baby out. Yeah,
that should be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Just not supposed to give up reverb, and then I'm getting one of these guys. So.
Yeah, reverb is kind of fun every now and again. It could be kind of haunting.
Yep.
When used properly.
That's right. We were talking about some of these shows you're doing on TV and some of these other gigs with some of these other artists. I want to try to find the question. Someone had a question about Bruno Mars. So let's try to jump down to that. We'll talk about Bruno. We'll talk about Ed Sheeran and some of these great guys too.
Yeah.
So Dak Tara is saying, hey Eric, Jake, everyone, happy Friday indeed. Let me see here. Vintage Sound says, hi Eric, Jake, and everyone, happy, thank God it's Friday. Yeah, we always love Fridays, don't we? Let me see. Vintage Sound says, hi Mystic. Jump down. Rick Kreifeld, yes, let's definitely hear about Bruno for sure. Let's get down to Bruno. Where was that? I need to find that Bruno question, and I cannot find it. So you know what? I'll try to find it, but let's just talk about Bruno Mars. When was it that you started working with him, and what was that gig like?
Bruno was awesome working with. It was years ago. It was out west that we played together for the most part. We had done Jimmy Kimmel together, and we had done some studio work together, and it was with an artist named Kanon.
Okay.
So we all were working together at the time in the studio creating. Kanon was famous for a tune called Waving Flag, which became like the national, it was like the anthem for the World Cup, essentially. So we were recreating the initial song, which Bruno either wrote or co-wrote, and we were recreating it in the studio for like the new version for the World Cup. So yeah, it was amazing working with him. He's an incredibly gifted artist. He's like super talented and just like, yeah, I related in that, he'd been around music his entire life as well. So it's just been like a lifetime of a path.
He gets it.
Yeah, big time. Like it's super in his blood. In fact, I just recently saw something of him as I guess an Elvis impersonator when he was like a tiny kid.
Yeah.
And he was like nailing the Elvis thing at like, I don't know, 6 years old or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely in his blood. And then Ed Sheeran was probably one of the artists that was almost the most shocking in that he, like in rehearsals and certainly on stage, like he would not miss a note ever. And like he's a really talented player on the guitar and singer too. He really knows his stuff incredibly well, and just a sweetheart of a person and an artist to be working with. So that was an incredible pleasure.
That guy is like I don't know a lot of his music. I have to admit, I'm not going to lie and say, I know a lot of his music. I don't. I'm aware of him. Yeah. But the fan base that guy has is insane, absolutely insane.
It is. I mean, the funny thing about Ed is he used to busk outside of Wembley Stadium, and now he's like selling out Wembley Stadium solo. So that's quite a jump. Yeah. So he's doing his thing for sure. So yeah, I've definitely been blessed to. I've been playing with a lot of different artists, which has been a result of being in Philadelphia. Honestly, coming down here, meeting a lot of great people. Chuck Treese was a very instrumental part of introducing me to a bunch of different scenes when I came down here. One of them being like the reggae and punk rock scene that was like Bad Brains influenced, and he was actually a member of them at one point in time, and what have you. But yeah, so I got introduced to the whole like reggae and punk rock scene, and then the whole R&B and hip hop scene, and it's been snowballing into a lot of nice situations over the years.
Fantastic.
Which it's been cool. It's rounded me out, and it's allowed me to jump into the various types of music that I love. But these days it's been like, all right, well, I've got to say something musically as well. So that's what I've been doing. Like in between all these other projects, I've been working on my own album, which is entitled Good News.
Okay, nice.
And it's something that I'm looking to be putting out in the fall at this point. So I got the single is done. Single is called Streets.
Okay.
And I have another one that's finished right behind that. So yeah, it's just like getting that really dialed in at this point has been a blast for me, just so I can focus on what I've got to say. Music.
Yeah, your stuff as opposed to working with everybody else. Now it's your turn to speak. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a lot of. It tests you. It's like playing with various artists. It really tests you and pushes you to limits that you may not even known you had within you. Mm-hmm. For example, playing with Roberta Flack was probably one of my highlights of all times in terms of like who I've played with. Just on a level of musicality and on nuances of music. Like she wanted things at times so quiet that we would be basically like whispering together on stage. Yeah, and when you really get into that type of a moment, it can be quite powerful, because then of course when you get loud, it's like, now they're there. And that's exactly how I was raised musically. Like my dad used to make me play so quiet that I couldn't even hear myself. And then when it was time to rock, like we would be going in.
Dynamics.
But yeah, he was really big about dynamics. He was really big about playing quietly until you knew a song well also. He's like, don't practice loud. Get it down and then turn up.
Sure.
Which I appreciated. And then he was really big on openings and endings. So like I've become a stickler on those too. Like I want a song to open up strong and close strong. Which Van Halen, go back to them, man. I look at some of the arrangements I put on some of the artists that I work with sometimes, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Van Halen ending. The whole like round sound, you know what I mean? Like 3, 4, 6 hits.
Yep, that's hilarious. I have to give credit to Vintage Sounds, a fellow in the chat. He's the one who asked about Bruno Mars. I apologize, I couldn't find his question, but I knew there was a Bruno Mars question. Rick Kreifeld says, Jake, you have the medium size, the LT, so the fastback LT is what that's called.
Cool.
Vintage Sound says, hide that pizza stone from Eric. I burnt myself last week and probably still see the scar on my arm of the pizza stone. So
about that.
Yeah, I can.
How are you doing?
What's that?
How are you doing from that?
Oh, I'm fine. I was a baby.
Okay?
I was a baby for a week, and looking for attention. So long story short, Eric has to stay out of the kitchen. Let me see here. Gotcha. Rick Reifeld says Eric has the GT, the large size. Cutter Savage is saying, hey there. Blackie DH saying, hey, Cutter. Let me see here. There was a question coming up from Rick. I got to get to it here in a second.
So you have the large size and I have the medium size?
Yeah, I have the fastback GT. I guess that's the big one, and the LT is like the medium size.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm glad I didn't get anything bigger, because I would have wanted more pedals on it too.
Right. I know. So you're talking about your injury, and I'm glad that you're doing better.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah.
It seems like you're doing better.
Yeah.
But it really makes me think of something that's in my heart that just happened a couple of days ago.
Oh, yes.
Which is a good friend of mine by the name of John Hammond. He runs and operates and builds Serenity drums. These is a very special drum company from over in the UK. I don't know. I lowered my pedal board here. I don't know if you can see. I
can just see the hi-hats a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe see if we can get it in the drums.
Let me see what I could do here.
Yep.
I want to just give you a quick little tour of these drums, if I may.
Yeah, of course you can.
So.
Well, that's nice looking.
Let me see if I could even turn up the lights in here a little bit.
Yeah.
So can you see that?
We can. That's actually not too bad at all.
So yeah, so these Serenity drums, I'll actually send you a picture of them and a link to them. But essentially, John was in his workshop like a few days ago and had a horrible accident happen while he was building.
Oh no!
And his finger is pretty messed up at this point. And thankfully, it's not as bad as I guess it could have been, because they were able to salvage the situation, and he's going to be able to get back to work at some point. But I wanted to bring it up because I feel like he needs as much support as we can all give him as a community. Because whether we're playing bass or drums, or we're into Van Halen or Ray Charles, it's like we're all sort of in this together at the end of the day.
Of course we are.
So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that in case anyone didn't know. Any way you can get in touch with him, they're just Serenity Drums on Instagram. They have a website. I think they're on Facebook as well. Any messages towards John would be appreciated, or certainly any prayers, because this is like his passion is not only playing but building, and now he's kind of a major setback.
It would be.
So,
well, all the best from everyone here for sure. Wishing you all the best and for a speedy recovery. And I know he's not going to want. I don't know the man personally, but anyone who has a passion like these manufacturers do, they don't want to be sitting idle. They don't want to be sitting on the couch. They want to be making instruments and watching people play them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the thing about John is each pair of drums, or set of them, or even like a snare drum if you were to get it, it's done in a bespoke fashion, which is he can't start building until he learns about you as a person.
Oh, wow.
And once he finds out different nuances about your personality, then he starts the build process. And I don't know if you could see it, but there are different grooves that are going on throughout the drum, and it's not symmetrical per se. It's just it was just based off of how he was feeling about, I guess, myself and the studio that they're here for. So it's interesting. Anyone who's ever looking for some very next level drums. I mean, he looked at me in the eyes and says, "I build the greatest drums in the world." That was on our Skype call, way before I met him. And then when I got to play them, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I actually get it. Like, he wasn't kidding.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So just sending some love out to John and Serenity, and just check them out.
Get better as soon as possible, as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for mentioning that as well too. Over a couple more questions here in a second, but over in the chat we've got U.S. American made guitars. My buddy saying nice. Greg Walker saying, "Hey Blackie, Cutter Savage, my signal flow is a work in progress at every guitarist ever." I know, isn't that so true? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mess with it that much. I sort of have my staples in terms of what goes where, but it's fun to mess around with stuff. Sure.
Yeah, accidental discovery sometimes is always the best. Like, whoa, what the heck? That's not supposed to go there, but it worked well.
Yeah, for sure.
Rick Kreifeld saying the same. Oh, I know, totally. You should be playing this in this progression, and it works. Rick Kreifeld says, "Haha, Cutter, totally right." Let me see anything else I'm missing here. I know there was a question. Rick Kreifeld says, U.S. American made guitar says Eric's rig looks good on the couch. Yeah, it's going to come off the couch after because I need to play it. I can't play it on the couch. Rick Kreifeld says isolating between the front end and effects loop is key. Very good. And Rick said I was correct on that. Strymon.net. So thanks, cool. Rick, on that. U.S. American made guitar says PedalSnake is great, and I scroll too fast. But Rick says tell us about the new solo work. So you touched base on that a little bit, and you're hoping for a fall release if all goes well.
A fall release, yeah. The album is entitled Good News, and I'm going to have some very special guests on there. I have some already, and generally it's going to be about just that, like bringing the good news to the world. I feel like we're in a time right now where it's so vital that we need extra good news. Like, you can't go near a TV without coming across bad news every 5 minutes. Forget about every day.
Yeah.
To the point of, like, I don't even turn the TV on anymore. It's like, it's just gotten so bad that I would just rather be creating music, honestly. But yeah, that's my offering to the world is good news, in the form of music. And I don't know if it's not going to be fully instrumental, though there'll be some instrumental pieces on there. But like I said, I'm really fortunate to have an amazing crew of musicians around me here in Philly and also up in New York. So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to share that with you guys and the world soon.
I love it, and there's some really good feedback coming your way right now in the chat right now. So obviously, this has been a great episode having you on. Cloreen Baconskin says, amazing conversation. All right, here's a question from my little guy, and I know this is your opinion could change tomorrow, but he's asking, what is Jake's favorite brand of guitars at the moment?
Oh man,
I know it's a loaded one.
Okay, it's a really tough question, but I guess it's kind of I could tell you what I've been playing the most recently.
Sure.
And that is I've been playing this guitar by Supro.
Okay.
And I believe it's their Hampton model. And what I love about it, there's a lot of things I love about it, but one of the things that I love most about it is the sound of it, as silly as that may sound, but yeah. So it has these 3 gold foil pickups in it. And in all my years of playing, I had never played gold foils before, so I wasn't really hip to it. I'd heard about them, but I played this guitar, and it's, I guess I've been a little bit more of a single coil player, like a Strat. I definitely dig a humbucker in the bridge for some extra, rocking ability, what have you. But the gold foils was sort of like a beautiful, like next level type of Strat situation. So it was like extra spanky and jangly, but still with like rock out, like with very little noise. And it was, yeah. And I unfortunately, I don't have that guitar with me. It's at home because I've been moving around so much. But it's a killer guitar. Supro just came back, I guess, after years of not being around. Now that they're around full blown, yeah. So I would say that would be, I'd say, right at the top of my list.
Nice. There's a local dealer here in my small town that actually has Supro now, the amps and the guitars. They look pretty cool.
Yeah, they are very cool, and you almost wouldn't know unless you played it just how cool it is.
Yeah,
because they're actually quite special. But I also, my thing is like I used to teach guitar for a bunch of years, on and off. It became more off because it was like I found myself wanting to be more aware of my own progress on the instrument than like keeping track of like a bunch of other people's progress, and not so much in a selfish sense, because I really love teaching when the student is like really into it, you know?
Of course.
And that wasn't as consistent at times. So, but while I was teaching at this one store, I would notice, and this was a long time ago, they had like the big name guitars coming in all the time, that most of them were like, they played like junk. When they were coming, you'd like take them out of the plastic and like it'd be buzzy, they'd never be in tune, and it would just be a list of things that I'm like, I thought these are supposed to be like the best out there. So I slowly started this like interest, I guess you could say, like what else is out there. And and some people are all like USA for everything. I started looking outside of the country at times of like what else is out there. So an example of another guitar that I love playing, it happens to be right here next to me. It's called a Mermet.
Okay.
And it's one of these very interesting fan fret multi-scale type of instruments.
Yeah, I like that. So, that's neat.
It's got a really beautiful blue tint going on. The tuners are quite wild down here. They took me a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what's happening. It's the 3-way with a push,
crawl tap,
which I dig all day as opposed to a push pull. It's just a really, really cool guitar that is actually from France. So Hugo Mermet is from France, and he just moved to California like a few months ago. Beautiful. So I'm excited to bump into him in the States at some point sooner than later. Another guy who's been building, amazing guitars, and I have a few of them, is Pete Malinowski.
Okay.
So this is one of the few funky headstocks that he has. They're like, you know, the hip shots, the locking hip shots. Excuse me. But like the woods on here are just ridiculous. He was an artist before he was a guitar builder. So I don't know if you could see, but it's he's got this whole like scene of, it's almost like the whole thing is like the sky, and there's this like stamp of like a plane coming into like an island. It's pretty funky.
I love it.
And then, you know, if it wasn't funky enough on its own, I added a Fishman triple play system to it, which I don't know, familiar?
Yep.
Okay, yes. So it's like the wireless MIDI world, and I'm able to tap into all of my favorite software when recording. And although I do play some keys, guitar is sort of easier for me to get my ideas, song ideas out on that. That ends up being fun.
Oh, nice. So there you go. Yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wicked. And we change. We always change. There's things that come along, and there's always exploring other instruments and amplifiers, pedals, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's we'd be bored if we played the same thing every day.
Yeah, it's interesting how like different there's so many brilliant luthiers out there these days, and they all have their different approaches with mixing woods and pickups and how they wind, and they really do all have their own voices. So yeah, it's fun.
That's right.
It's fun to check a few out for sure.
Rick is saying everyone go to Jake's Facebook page and you can see some amazing shots of those drums. They're gorgeous. And just so everyone knows too, in the description below in the video, there's links to Jake's Facebook, Instagram, his website, everything that you can think of, it all down below. So when the show's over tonight, go explore that and have a look. I think you'll have a lot to see. And actually, there's a really cool video in the description as well too, where you're playing with Ed Sheeran earlier. And I have to say, I have to give a little nod to the drummer. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's your brother-in-law. Is it not correct?
That is correct.
I love this guy. Tell everybody, like, a lot of people know him, you know, as you know, from different bands and different TV shows and things like that. Tell everyone who that drummer is that I'm referring to. This
drummer is the one and only Questlove, Amir Questlove Thompson, and that's he's he's kind of the one who pulled a lot of that together with Ed.
Nice.
And he was the liaison on that whole world, and Amir's great. I love him.
Nice. That's great. He's always funny to watch too. I love him. Really inspiring. He's like, to me, he's like the Michael Jordan of basketball. You know, if someone's not a basketball fan, he makes you. Michael Jordan would like you like the sport, or Joe Montana in football would make you like the sport, even though you don't know anything about football. I think he's like that with drums. It makes me want to try to play drums, which I would fail miserably, but it makes me want to try at least it.
Absolutely. He's a lovable character for sure.
So here's that nice comment I said was coming up. Is Jeff Monroe says, wow, this man puts out a vibe that is amazing. What a good person. It shows big time. So very nice. I'm glad to see people recognizing that.
Wow. That's so sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up here momentarily. Quentin James says, Roberta Flack, Killing Me Softly. Jay Humphrey says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. Jay Humphrey says, amen, that's why I'm here watching EVH Gear TV. Air keeps it real and the vibe is positive. That's what we try to do. We try our very best to keep everything positive here. I mean, positivity goes a lot further than negativity, and it's just as contagious, but why not be contagious with a positive vibe, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what good news is.
Yes.
The out good news, like that's really the whole kind of mantra behind it.
I love it.
Love.
Good title, good vibe, good feeling. It's going to be good music. I can't wait. I cannot wait to hear that for sure. So we're going to wrap up in a second, but I wanted to, one of the things that's just staring me in the eyes in the background of your studio there, we talk about vinyl here on the show a lot, and just kind of reabsorbing vinyl. I grew up on it as a kid. I loved it.
Yeah.
And kind of re-exploring it now with my son, and we're really enjoying it. You guys have got... together, you and your wife have a collection that most music stores in the day would probably say, do you have this, Jake? Because I need a couple copies of this. Tell us about this collection that you have.
Well, the collection started with my in-laws. They had this very large and very vast record collection that ranged from all kinds of music, actually. And it was passed down to Dawn T, my wife, and to Amir, and basically they they took this collection, and with being music lovers that they were, they just kept adding to it. And anywhere that they would travel to for shows over the years, they would grab more records and either stick them in a suitcase or have them shipped home. And the next thing you know, there were so many that there was this need for like a whole room to be built.
Like a library.
So it is a library. There's like library style ladders that scroll around. And I can show you the room actually in just a second.
Sure.
I did want to just touch on one thing since we're talking about Don T.
Yeah, of course.
We just got back from Seattle. We were in Northwest. I need to give her a shout out because I'm so proud of what she's doing. She's not only like a label owner. She runs D-Tone Victorious is the name of our record label, but she now is an official author, and she just. She wrote and contributed for a book called Behind the Song.
Okay.
And let's see here. It's and she was out in Seattle at this Pacific Northwest kind of book conference, and speaking about. She was a featured panelist, and
Nice.
she was talking about the book and about her influences over the years. But yeah, she's a heavyweight, and it's actually going to be out on Source Books. So it's like her and like a dozen other bestsellers from New York Times.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah. So we're excited about that. We're trying to kind of branch into a few different areas at once. We've also been doing music for TV and film for a bit. So some of her songs have been featured, or some of our songs have been featured in like Lifetime's movie With This Ring.
Nice.
Was from, and it featured Philly's Jill Scott and Eve. And another one that she did was it was a single, Waiting, that was actually in the BET's I Will Follow, which was directed by Ava DuVernay, who also directed Selma and Queen Sugar. So, and these people, these music supervisors just find her or find us. And we've been fortunate to be able to, get some music out there like that. And I'm also currently working on 2 other Netflix films currently, music for the film, with my buddy Tony Moore next door at Breed Studios. So, yeah, we've got a few coals in the fire.
The Netflix projects, is that something that we'll be seeing in 2017 or 18 or maybe beyond, or when do you think?
We're hoping that it's, if not late 17, then 18 for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely moving forward. Yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, keep me posted as it gets closer. I want to scoop that out for sure.
Yeah, and Don and I, Don T, I should say, we had an interesting, we played, I was in basically a guitarist in her band for a couple of years before we even talked very much. The thing was all about talking to the MD, and he would relay the details of the band. But our first gig that we ever played was playing with what's his name? Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy.
Okay.
So that was like an interesting entry to like, okay, this is what we're doing. And it's been a very cool ride ever since, musically and otherwise. But let me show you this record room.
Sure. As you're walking, and ask you a question too. There's something you can answer while you're walking. Insomniac Matt asks you what's your type of guitar strings that you're using at the moment, and your type of brand.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Yeah. Again, in my search of trying to find some things that are, of course, D'Addario makes great strings. I actually was a DR endorser for a long time, but I played these strings maybe a year and a half ago that I've been really sold on, and I've been playing them pretty exclusively ever since, or exclusively, I would say. They're called Acoustic Science.
Okay.
I have a pack here somewhere. I have a pack of bass strings I could show you.
Okay, there you go.
That's not that. That is the wrong pack. They are right here.
Acoustic Science.
Yeah, and they're really interesting in terms of even the packaging, the way they come. But they're like very, very slightly coated strings.
Okay.
So you barely notice it. You definitely don't notice it on the tone, but they last for a long time. They sound great. They stay in tune. So, yeah, I would check them out.
Very
Acoustic
cool.
Science. So here we are in the infamous record room here.
Oh my. Oh my! And he wasn't kidding about the library ladders. Oh my!
Yeah, we've got.
Can you guess roughly how many records you have in there?
I think I was told 75,000 range.
Oh my!
So, and they're so basically, Dante and Questlove put every record that you're looking at up here one by one, and then categorized them.
Okay.
And yeah, there's some pretty interesting stuff from All in the Family at one point. The LL Cool J. You got Jocko over here.
Oh, Jocko, right on. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like, it's sort of endless. And for me, to be able to create in a studio like this is a blessing beyond belief, because you're really never short of inspiration around here. If ever you are, it's like, well, let me pick any record up and go to school for a bit.
Then where do you go from there to go listen? Is it right in the studio, or where do you listen?
Yeah, right back in that room.
Oh,
we
right
have
in
a
the
record
room.
player.
Okay.
And we also have it tied into the like our system, our recording system, which I could show you really quickly. It's just like lately we've been using this Focusrite stuff, the Claret series.
Yeah, you're endorsing those guys.
Yeah, so the Claret has been amazing. I guess it's the Octapre and then the 8Pre. So one's an interface. So we have the turntable, which is right there, going through there as well, in case we ever wanted to grab a sample here or there, which I've been open to lately. Yeah, getting into that world a little bit. So yeah, so that's sort of the setup for here in a nutshell. However, most recently, I also got linked up with this company, Digigrid.
Okay.
Which is, I've been a Waves endorser for like the last few years, and Digigrid and Waves, they came together and they came up with this. This is like it's called an M recording device. It's really just a simple interface. I have a couple of other pieces that essentially together, it allows you to take all your Waves plugins and shoot them to their system. It's like a server basically.
Gotcha.
Instead of your computer. So you could have like 10 instances of Waves. Don't quote me on the number. Right, you could have a lot of instances of Waves plugins on tons of tracks, and it doesn't even touch your CPU at all. Oh, wow. Which is nice because, as you get up there in the track numbers, you don't want to, and the inspiration is still flowing. You don't want your system, pulling the early Skype thing. Like where
yeah, that's right.
You don't want that.
You want the headroom left there for sure.
Yeah, so the Digigrid guys are awesome as well. I'd look into those.
I have to say, there's a great article I read about you on the Scarlett, the Octapres and whatever you're talking about there. No, I don't know them that well, but yeah, there's a very nice article on their website that shows you guys in the studio and shows your record collection. That's one of the ways I saw that record collection. It's really nice, just absolutely beautiful. And I noticed when you're in there too. I mean, it's hard to tell audio quality from just from these webcams and things like that and internet. But when you're in the record room there is certainly a change in the acoustics. Just when you were speaking.
Yeah, very much so. So in this main room, the production room, and there's another room here to my left, which is the drum booth / vocal booth. Those were built. These were built to be like acoustically sound and from a genius, a sound guru who put these together, and it's incredible. It's really something else. The back room is just what it always had been in terms of height. I think this room had that same height, but they dropped the ceilings down. So music was more, to my knowledge, listened to in the back. I don't know how much recording used to go on there, but I decided there's so much inspiration there. Why not try to create around there? Yeah. So I keep a kit back there. There's basically all the instruments back there. That's where my main production space is now, back there. And I use, a Raven. So it's everything. It's a lot of fun. We got to have you down from Canada one of these days.
I'd love to. That'd be great. That'd be an honor. It'd be an honor for sure. Yeah,
a lot of fun. Absolutely.
Well, please express the congrats to Don T, and I was checking out some of her music before the show as well too, and just it's really great to see you two working together, working so closely together, and the harmony that you guys have. So really, first of all, I'm really thrilled to have you on the show as well too, but please express that as well.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And for anyone who's interested in checking her out further, she's Don T. It's DON-T.com. That's her website. From there, you can get to all her socials.
Yeah.
She's always like loving interacting with new people, so reach out to her and say hello.
For sure, and she's in the description as well too. Her link, because you gave me a lot of those links as well, so that she's in the bottom as well too. So check it out for sure.
Beautiful.
Support all this.
Thanks
Make sure to check out PedalSnake.com, Strymon.net, and IdeaBench.com. Something that we're both working closely with, and would love to. If anyone has questions on this stuff, hit up either Jake or myself or both of us, and we'd be more than happy to give you some suggestions and things like that. And each one of those companies are very, very good when it comes to pre-sales things. You got a question? Ask these guys. They're that's what they're waiting for. So good people.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're the best. and Jody, I got to meet him recently in person. That was incredible. Because he's not only a genius at what he does, but he's a brilliant player as well.
He is. He's very good.
He was busting out these random songs that I forgot even existed, and he played them beautifully. Yeah, he's a great player and a great guy. So
the sad thing is, we've known each other for a decade and a half plus, and we've never met. But we spent so many times on the phone and emails, and back in the old day of almost faxing one another. You know what I mean? It's it's pretty cool. So he's a good guy.
That's awesome.
I love him. He's great.
Well, we'll all have to get together one of these days. Have a little seminar.
Sure. And in the very near future, too, we haven't set this up as far as a date, but I know we talked about this in the onset. We're going to do a show one of these nights where it's going to be yourself, me, Jody, Rick, and Joanna, and possibly Mark from Strymon as well, too, and get the whole board of CEOs in here. And, we'll do a nice show on the products. That'd be great.
That would be awesome, because I know they'll be, give a lot more light to the products and, like, the specs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But
you'll see me a little grayer after that one, though, because you see how gray I almost went tonight when we didn't go live. So I'll be quite gray after that one, facilitating 5, 6, 8 people in the show at a time. But you know what? It's a passion of all of ours, so we'll make it happen.
Yes, indeed. We sure will, man.
That's right.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll make myself available. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Well, before we say goodbye to everybody, I just want to do something really quickly here. So it's a new feature to the show. A lot of people have been submitting really, really cool EVH and Van Halen-inspired guitars. So I'm just going to flip over to a gallery for a second, and I'll say goodbye to you off the air in a moment. Just want to show, give light to some of these people who put their hard-earned dollars on the line and buy all this Van Halen gear. Making some of their own, buying some. We'll do a quick little slideshow. We can still continue to talk over it. And then I want to wish everyone a very happy weekend. I hope you guys are safe and have a great weekend. And I invite you to come back on Tuesday, which is a very irregular night for me. But Tuesday I've got Mark Kendall from Great White coming on the show, which is going to be a lot of fun as well, too. Regular time, 9 p.m., but it's a Tuesday. Just want to point that out as well, too. So let's jump over to the gallery for a quick second here. And so as I continue to talk, there's just some slideshows playing. And if people would like to have some of their Van Halen-inspired gear featured on the show and on the Facebook page, just send me an email to info@evhgeartdiscussion.com. That's the old show name, but same email address, info@evhgeartdiscussion.com. And I'll feature it on the show here as well. They'll be random, and I'll feature them on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/evhgeartv, and just kind of giving some props to the fellow fans that have some great gear. And it will be random, and I can't always guarantee I can get everybody's in here, but I'll try to rotate them as often as possible. So there you go. There's a few pictures scrolling by, and thank you to all you people that have submitted your gear so far. I love it to death. I'm going to back over here to Jake and I for a second. So listen, Jake, anyone else you want to say hello to, goodbye to before we take off?
Let's see. I would just like to say hi to everyone who's tuned in, and thank you so much for checking us out tonight, and thank you for all the support with my career, certainly for all the support you're giving to Eric as well. Keep that up, because we love his show, and I just really appreciate the support, and come follow me on Instagram at jmotone. I think he'll have a link to it, but it's JMOTONE. And man, just keep rocking out there and stay blessed, everybody.
I love watching your Instagram. It's great. I look forward to it every day. So do that for sure. All the links are down below.
Likewise.
everyone have a fantastic weekend. We'll look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Maybe some live broadcasts over the weekend. Just follow the Facebook page just in case. And I'm going to turn over to the little man. He's going to tell us what his name is, what he's playing. And Jake, I'll say goodbye to you off the air in about 30 seconds, all right?
That sounds good.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you real soon. All right. Cheers.
My name is Eric, and I'm playing looking guitar.
Video production services provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website photography and video production needs.